Here's 10 tips to play octaves like a pro on the piano. So, number 1 here. We're going to try and keep the wrist as flat as possible, because if you do not, you end up doing what I call the mountain peak, and that creates a lot of tension and wasted motion. So, that look a lot more than this. There's exceptions to this. If there's slow octaves, for example, and you're trying to project, I saw Yuzha Wang play the Brahms Second Piano Concerto, and she played like this to get the tune out. That sort of thing, which helps the voicing as opposed to being soft-handed like. There's that. Okay, tip number 2. Make sure that in general you're doing a lot more left and right movement as opposed to up and down movement. Kind of similar to the last one, but not the wrist. I just mean in the whole arm. You don't want a lot of up and down. Let's say Opus 53 Chopin. That's a problem if you're going up and down, because the up muscle and the down muscle are two different things. So they're in an argument with each other if you do a lot of that. And the way you'll compensate for this is point 3. Use more finger action. So the way you do this, here's my phone. Probably didn't see it. It disguises right into the piano. If I grab this, especially lengthwise, with just the octave fingers, 1 and 5, what you're going to see is this kind of movement. And I can grab that without the wrist changing at all. See that? Grab, release, grab, release. So that's how you get the key down, is that little grabbing and releasing feeling. Super quick, like a little poke or something. And that's how you can still get the key to sound without having to use a lot of force behind it. Glenn Gould version, right? So that's the main trick. Point 3, think about how you're leaving the notes. So let's say I have F to F, an octave jump in octaves. If I go down, up, over, down, 4 steps, right? But if I just play it using the fingers and then push off to the right, it's fingers, move, fingers. So now it's really just like fingers and move is 1 step, and then playing the second one with the fingers is the second step. So I've turned 4 motions that could look like this. See, I missed it. I've turned those 4 into like 2 gestures that's much faster and much more accurate. Now there's a few things to think about. White to white is left to right, or right to left. So it's black to black. So same colored key, you're just moving left and right. But if we're going white to black, you also have to incorporate the in movement. So you don't want to leave the key like this and then move at the last second in. You want to incorporate that to the whole move. So in and to the right, C to F sharp. Now, black key, C sharp to G, now you're pulling towards your frame. Like this, in a sweeping motion. You don't want to go down, up, and then just kind of throw down at a jerky angle. Stay in that motion the whole time. So it's great if you can practice tritones going up, and then chromatically, if you know what a tritone is and how to use chromatic scales to figure them out, then C, F sharp, C sharp, G, and that sort of thing. An amazing exercise, because you get white, black, and then black to white, white to white, white to black, black to black. You get a little bit of everything, and they're awkward intervals. In most of the repertoire, you're not going to jump ever more than a tritone. Like Tchaikovsky Concerto, there's a tritone, there's a tritone, there's a tritone, and then even when you have the arpeggios, you only have a 4th, and then thirds. So like, I forget it. It's been years since I played it. But that's a classic example. You don't jump more than that most of the time. So if you can do this. Almost got it. That's a great exercise. Not that fast. I'm trying to rush through this video. So that's everything about leaving the note. Point 5, if you can't stretch at least a 9th, forget this point and go to the next one, point 6. Everything else you can do at any hand size. But if you have an extra key to spare on your octaves, meaning you can play a 9th, that means you can kind of contract your hand in for the octave, which means you can play it above the key instead of out here trying to spread, right? So if you can do that, then you can play your thumbs much more into the piano as opposed to at the edge, which allows you to limit your distance back and forth in your white to black movement. So we go like this. I learned this actually from a guy named James Giles who teaches at Northwestern University, and I played for him Liszt Funerai in a master class, which has this horrible chromatic scale in triplets, but in octaves, of course. And the whole time you're doing this crazy run, and I'm like, how will I ever get through this? And he goes, well, first of all, you're at the edge of the white. So you're going about an inch in and inch out every single time. Like, no wonder I couldn't get that in time. So that saved me more than once, let me put it that way, once I figured that out. It's probably distorting. I'm using this voice mic for the playing too, so sorry about that if it's really crackly. But you get the point. So visually speaking, here's point 6, lead with your thumb, right? If you're looking at the middle of the hand, it's just kind of like bracing and you have no idea where you're going. But if you look at your thumb, you can really land at the center of each key from left to right. I don't mean the center like back to forward. I mean like literally like not the edge here on either side, but right in the middle. That's going to give you that accuracy. I'm just like literally laser focused on my thumb visually. And it helps me to stay on track. If you look at your pinky, you're shot. Like you're never going to make it. But even the middle of the hand, a lot of people don't have any real aimer, so to speak, with their octaves. Point 7, practice each finger alone, which, like I said, is really hard to do with the pinky, but it's worth it. Let's take Brahms' first concerto. Something like that. If you could play that with a pinky, I'm going to try a few notes and probably completely mess it up, but let's say much harder to do, right? Look at how confident I was with the octaves, and then I play the pinky and it's shot. Now, you won't be able to play it masterfully at full tempo, probably, but if you can even practice it with just pinkies alone, just a little bit, little under tempo, mostly fluent, it will get really quite a lot better overnight because you give yourself that kind of control over the finger that most people ignore. Thumbs alone helps too, but usually thumbs are easier to guide because thumbs move from left and right. So you can really easily kind of like make adjustments along the way, but pinky is a weak finger and it's extended and you don't have that like left and right control. So you actually have to land accurately. Whereas the thumb, you could like be almost about to miss it and you could adjust it at the last second. So not as helpful, but still helpful. Number 8, consider using 1 and 3 or 1 and 4 as opposed to just 1 and 5. So 1 and 3, you don't want to use it everywhere. If you have a big enough hand to do it, it's great because if you have 2 black keys in a row, for example, C sharp, D sharp, it's not nice to use 4-4. It's a little bit weak. But then if you do 5-5, or 4-5, I mean, then you have to do 5 back again. So some people do 5-4-5, where they cross the 4 over the 5, but then you have to turn the hand in a way that's not desirable. So a nice solution there would be 3-4-5. And then da-da-da, 3-4-5. You're just working up the hand. And then there's a lot of mileage you can get, especially when they're like melodies. Let's do Chopin, Concerto E minor. Right? All of those, 5-5 right here, 3-4-5, 5-4-5, and then back down, 5-4-3-5, and 4-3-5. I mean, you can get so much legato out of that instead of having to hack up the line all the time. So it's not everywhere, but you want to look at places where you can do that. And then 9, don't forget to shape. You don't want to have stiff, still, musically boring octaves all the time. So let's say Tchaikovsky Concerto. I mean, like, boring. Even if you play them super fast and super loud. I've heard so many pianists just tank through something like that, just like what I just did, just beating out the beats. But it's still a melody, it's still a line. So like, how would you play it if it was single notes? Maybe like inflect into the middle and relax at the top. And then crest at the top. And then back off to create a big crescendo. You know, a passage like that can be so much more exciting when you actually bring some life to it. So here we go. My attempt at Tchaikovsky 1. It's been 6 years, I think, since I did it in undergrad. Something like that. I don't know actually if the last chord is a chord. I always added a chord there, and I added a chord at the beginning, just for volume. But anyway, shaping is so dang important. Like, what comes to mind also, Spanish Rhapsody, Liz. So still, but if you place the first one, right, like the big one, and then come down. Let's see. Crescendo, it's way more exciting, even if you take a slower tempo like I do. And like a little stretching here and there is okay too. Like I didn't keep it totally in tempo, but just to warm it up and make it sound more like a voice. You know, nobody sings exactly on the beat. You know, a little bit of that. If you do it everywhere, it's really, really indulgent and not very exciting. But if you do it every once in a while, it will actually open up that palette to sound much more interesting. So let me know what I left out. Hopefully nothing, but if I did, write me in the comments. Tell me which of these things you already know and what you're doing in your practice routine, but also, more importantly, what can you add to your daily practice starting today that will add more technique and more control over your octaves.